Greetings and salutations, people of the internet. This is Master RBG. And you know what? I love the Five Nights at Freddy's series. I have for quite some time now. It's that lovely little indie horror sensation that was sweeping the nation for quite a while, and still is, at least in my mind. But you know what? Since for a long time I lacked any kind of computer capable of running any of the games, or any means of recording the footage even if I did have a computer capable of running it, I wasn't able to do any reviews or anything like that for any of the series up till now. But finally, I do have a computer that can play and record the footage from a modern PC game, such as Five Nights at Freddy's. And now there's a shiny new Five Nights at Freddy's game on the horizon. Or I guess I should say a FNAF spin-off game? You know what I mean. Anywho, I'm super excited for the FNAF sister location game, not necessarily because of the gameplay, but for the lore. The story is what keeps me coming back to this series, and who can blame me? It's the plot of these games that set the internet forums ablaze with speculation. The storyline for the main FNAF games is, well, it's all wrapped up as far as anyone's really concerned. FNAF 3, the ghosts finally find peace, escape the animatronic suits, Purple Guy gets his karmic comeuppance, and ends up killed via an ancient, damaged, and highly dangerous spring-lock suit. And now he's stuck forever haunting an animatronic suit. The end, roll credits, we're done here. Or are we? Last I checked, there are still 3 spirits that remain earthbound. There's Springtrap, aka Purple Guy, but who cares about what happened to that guy, am I right? And then there's Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie. We never get told directly who they were or how they came to be, but I'm pretty darn sure MatPat from Game Theory got it right with his theory. Shadow Bonnie and Freddy are more than likely the 2 employees who are killed by the dangerous spring-lock suits. Suits just like the one Purple Guy eventually ended up stuck in. Because of the events that created Shadow Bonnie and Freddy, the spring-lock suits were discontinued and got hidden away inside sealed rooms. We know the fatal spring-lock suit event from an old recording from Phone Guy in FNAF 3, but we don't know where that event actually took place. We do hear mention of a sister location a couple times in the main series, and that the location was left to rot. Unlike so many other locations that were closed up at the end of the year, or month, or week after other horrific events, this location just got flat out abandoned. Lots of awful things have happened in this series. What could have possibly been so bad that Fazbear Entertainment would have simply turned tail and fled the place like that? Well, we're gonna have to go back and look at what we do know before we can speculate on what might have occurred at this sister location. We know that the spring-lock suits were faulty right from the start, because the obvious safety issue was glossed over by management. These are fur-covered suits that could potentially kill someone inside it with compressed animatronic parts if any condensation gets on the locking mechanisms. And any amount will do, even moisture from one's own breath. And these are suits covered in fur. Sweating pretty much seems like a foregone conclusion here. And if condensation from breath can loosen those locks, I'm pretty sure sweat can definitely do the job. We also know after the fatal incident, they killed the 2 employees inside the spring-lock suits. They hastily sealed those suits away and temporarily used some costumes they found to use until a more permanent solution was available. We were led to believe that these were costumes of characters who had nothing to do with the already established Freddy Fazbear crew, and in all likelihood, these would have probably consisted of the early precursors to Baby and the other new animatronics in the sister location game. They're probably popular enough to warrant being made permanent additions to the crew because, hey, more characters does mean more merchandise to sell. We don't know for absolute certain, but there's a decent bit of evidence to support this location sporting a circus theme of some sort. The baby animatronic certainly has a clown-like appearance, and her introduction we see in FNAF World and the teaser on Scott's website certainly put me in mind of a big top introduction. It might also explain the odd variety of characters listed for the game so far. We have 2 adventure animatronics confirmed, 2 funtime animatronics confirmed, and anywhere from 1 to 5 toy-looking animatronics from what we can see. 3 different styles of animatronics in use all at once? That's a bit strange, but not as much so if it's a 3-ring circus with a different animatronic type in each ring. Not a bad idea from a business standpoint. Let the customer pick from one of 3 different style party rooms with 3 different styles of animatronics. We also know that most of the ghosts from Five Nights at Freddy's were freed and passed on once their animatronics had been destroyed and the killer himself got killed. But Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie were not. I believe this is because Purple Guy had nothing to do with their deaths, and that they won't be freed and pass on until their killers are brought to justice or killed. But the Shadow characters act significantly different from their haunted animatronic counterparts. They don't blindly attack people who might be the one they're after. They can see and move where other animatronics can't. I'm not sure if this is because they're adult ghosts, or because they're former employees with inside knowledge, because they aren't bound by a still physical animatronic body, or by programming of an animatronic, or some combination thereof, but I do believe I know just who the Shadow characters are after, though. I believe they blame their former bosses for their untimely demises, and that because of that, they cannot rest until the owners of Fazbear Entertainment are made to pay for their crimes. We also know without a doubt that the owners of Fazbear Entertainment are horrible people. The first thing we ever hear about them is their policy about finding dead bodies. A missing persons report will be filed within 90 days or as soon as property and premises have been thoroughly cleaned and bleached and the carpets have been replaced. So they basically tell us up front that they're experienced at hiding evidence of murder and death. The first batch of new animatronics, aka the toy animatronics, made after the 5 missing children's incident, have facial recognition, and they're all tied into some kind of criminal database, so they can detect a predator a mile away. Why, it's almost as if the owners knew about Purple Guy ahead of time, and had a reason to expect him to come back. Because tech that advanced must have taken a while to make. Following the multiple simultaneous spring-lock suit failure incident, they hid the evidence, aka the spring-lock suits, in safe rooms that they sealed up and conveniently omitted from any building blueprints or the programming of the animatronics. Any employees who were present at the time were told not to tell anyone, especially insurance investigators, about the room. It's because of the absurd limitations they put in place that a ton of night security guards met with a grisly and untimely end at the hands of the haunted animatronics. Honestly, who limits power consumption like that? Or gives you a flashlight with no spare batteries? You're supposed to be a security guard. A flashlight is kind of an essential tool for that job. And a regular lockable metal door would have kept the security guards safe, but instead, they choose to put in an electric one that consumes power to stay closed instead of open, almost like they meant for the guard to die. With all this in mind, I think we can finally speculate a bit on what the story of FNAF's sister location might be. Given the inclusion of the toy animatronic A Baby, we can assume it must take place no sooner than FNAF 2 in the timeline. We can also assume it must take place prior to the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 1 for the same reason. Since the toy animatronics were destroyed after the events of FNAF 2, we can also assume that it wasn't the spring-lock suit incident that forced this location to close down and be abandoned. it's extremely likely that this will take place sometime afterward. So here's my theory about the plot for FNAF's sister location. When the Springlock suits killed those 2 employees while on stage in the middle of a show, it left entirely too many witnesses to an unfavorable event for Fazbear Entertainment's liking. They discontinued using the suits and hid them away, but not before they killed off anyone who bore witness to the event who wasn't an employee who they could manipulate into silence. The location probably got temporarily shut down while the bodies were no doubt disposed of. While the sister location used temporary suits to cover up for their sudden lack of animatronics, Fazbear Entertainment rolled out the toy animatronics as a means not only to redeem their business for past perceived issues and rebrand themselves, but also to distract from rumors of what happened at the sister location. Deciding to piggyback on the rebranding scheme, they decided to double down on rebranding and completely rebuild the sister location bigger and better. Give it a complete overhaul with new animatronics and everything. They prepare 3 major party rooms to make more money than any previous location had. They were so confident of its success and grandeur that the bigwigs of Fazbear Entertainment themselves decided to attend the opening of this location. Unfortunately for them, the spirits of the 2 dead employees from the Springlock suit incident, along with the murdered witnesses, harbor a grudge against them, and use the new animatronics as their vessels to seek out the owners of Fazbear Entertainment and get their revenge they desperately desire. The new information from the recently released trailer seems to further this theory. It would seem these animatronics come with speaker boxes, and thus have voices of their own. They also seem more self-aware, even more so than Shadow, Freddy, and Bonnie, asking us, who are very likely the new security guard, to not hold their actions against them, and that we don't know what they've been through. We also know this facility is deep underground, rather convenient then if something were to go horribly wrong. Shut off the elevator, and the new animatronics could have their way with whoever is down there with them, like the owners of Fazbear Entertainment, perhaps. We have speaking animatronics, controlled by far more intelligent spirits this time around, and that's far more frightening. At least they don't seem to harbor any ill will towards the player themselves. Perhaps some of the animatronics are haunted by former employees, but we shouldn't take that as meaning they won't attack us if we get in the way of their true targets. The heartless corporate bastards that have an awful lot of blood already on their hands. And given that we know this place will be abandoned, I think they might just succeed in their quest for vengeance. Of course, that's just my own personal theory. If you have one of your own, why not share it in the comments below? If you enjoyed this, why not hit that like button? If you'd like to see more of my nonsense in the future, why not hit subscribe? Anywho, that does it for me this time, guys. Have a good one. This is Master RBG, signing off.